Hello. I can't do it. I'm Charlie. You guys can do that.
I have to work my way into it.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta back my way into it.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to Anyways, which is a video podcast where a group of people discuss Deadwood in a warehouse. And I'm Ben.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Charlie Utter.
And in this episode, Charlie Utter, the most noble character in the show, delivered a violent beatdown to probably the most murderous character in the show, Francis Wolcott. And did you guys find that violence satisfying? Or?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to watch him break that guy's ribs.
Yeah. I love it when Charlie calls people's bluff about, like, oh, and just like the idea that like this guy that people are like creeped out and scared of.
Yeah.
And he like pretty quickly sees that like I could take his ass.
Yeah.
And so I think I will.
I really love the dorky way in which he initiates the violence.
Yeah.
Because we've seen him in that the Grand Hotel or Grand Central Hotel buffet line, and then he just is like, "Well, somebody stepped on my feet earlier, so I'm just gonna pretend that's happening."
Yeah. Mind where you're stomping your fucking feet.
It's like a callback to first season stuff, right?
But when I first saw this, it made me really nervous. I was like, Charlie's way too nerdy to initiate violence. If his idea of aggression is like he has to like. It's he works himself up into it.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The whole thing, he was just psyching himself up while escalating things.
Yeah,
it's unnatural. He calls him a cunt over and over. But Charlie uses the word cunt very awkwardly,
aggressively and awkwardly.
It kind of reminds me of Wild Bill using it to the other character.
Exactly, they felt very awkward and forced.
Yeah.
But
it made sense within the scene because it was an awkward pretext for him to assault him, but it just was very. It just made me feel. I was real. This when I originally watched this episode, I was very concerned for Charlie Utter's safety.
Yeah.
I wanted him not to die.
I was concerned for a split second, and then he just beat the ever living shit out of him.
But then they make you scared again though when he's in the room with Wolcott.
Right, because he has his hand down the whole time.
He goes and sits behind the desk, and you can't see his hands or what he's got under there.
He could have been holding a gun.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
Could have been, lured him over to settle things, but
he's just lucky that Wolcott kind of gets off on it.
Yeah,
that's kind of the implication of this episode, right?
Well, there's several implications.
Yeah,
I thought that it was at the end of it. It's like maybe he's not such a bad guy.
No, I think that is seriously sort of a fucking implication of Deadwood. Is like it has like this weird. I mean, not weird. It's explicitly like Christian in some respects. Like it's like Wolcott just can't help himself. And he, like that's literally sort of what they're going for a little bit. They're also going for he gets off on it.
Yeah.
The thing I was thinking of during that, and like you said, a greater thing with the show is that these people are awful and bad things happen, but there are moments of people being decent to each other, like deserved or not. It's not a statement about the person. It's just interactions that you might otherwise not get.
Right.
That Charlie, that the exchange, Charlie still like asked him if he wants the door open or closed. But
well, the exchange where Charlie,
that like he extended him a courtesy weirdly right at the end because of I guess the way it all went down.
Well, I mean, only because he got that letter.
But yeah,
right?
he's like in a good mood because he's looking at his friend's letter.
Right.
Well, it is weird. There's like you got the serial killer in the camp with a straight razor, just like Jack the Ripper.
Right.
And like a beating's good enough. He'll be better. He'll be okay. No worries after that.
Well, but that's good enough for white men.
Yeah.
In the camp, if they killed 3 women.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like if it was a Chinese guy, they would have just shot him in the street, and everybody would be like, okay,
right, yeah,
and that's fine.
Right, yeah. You murdered 3 women in cold blood.
Right.
I ought to kick your ass.
I ought to kick your ass, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's where, that's the
but
line.
you get a sense that in the final line of the episode is, Wolcott Utter asked Wolcott when leaving his room after receiving Wild Bill's letter whether or not he wants the door open or closed, and he specifies he wants it open. And so like there's this sense that he's like, his serial killing is a compulsion that he would like to be open rather than closed. That's how I took that. It's like like he's that's
he wants to be out.
Yeah, so you have this weird little sympathetic moment for him.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh well, he just wants to be open about wanting to slit every woman's throat for some reason because they saw his penis.
Only sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, no, but seriously, and I think that is literally what the show is going for.
Right.
In addition to all the other things that it's throwing at us, which are much more grimy and like vulgar and depraved, it has this sense that all these people are fucked up beyond belief, and I don't know. There's this.
They still got to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, well, there's a religious sense, and like the first time I watched this, I had a problem sometimes with some of the religious stuff, like Doc's speech at the end of season 1. I was not into that, and I just wanted. I feel like the way I take the Christian stuff that the different characters talk about, I feel like it's basically asking for some sort of mercy or grace for all these characters, even as they're diabolical. I mean, I think I've...
Yeah, the...
Full fucking day, boss? They all are. What's up, buddy?
I love that there is a fly in here. I don't know. There's something about a fly buzzing through. And it's big enough that it might, like, register on screen.
It's appropriate to Deadwood. There's a lot of flies in Deadwood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about this. The fucking beginning of the episode is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like Al opening... It's like...
He realized
it's
there's
like
a door
sitcom.
that connects them that they didn't realize.
It's like a sitcom. It's like they built a new set, and it was like, oh, whoa, I didn't know this door went over here.
Al comes in and walks down the stairs.
Well, Al's visiting. He's visiting Merrick, and he
realizes that the gym connects to his printing office.
Mm-hmm. And nobody knew that, even though they built it.
Well, no, Merrick knew it. He said various people in stages of undress have alerted me.
So,
like,
so some of the prostitutes come through accidentally.
Yeah, but like, I think that it's showing the connection between Al's influence on Merrick and his ability to control the press.
Right.
And also, it is getting rid of like the mechanics of having Al leave his office, because Al rarely leaves his office. So they're like, we can have this scene and we don't even need to set it up. And I think maybe it's a little inelegant. The first line of the episode is, did you know this fucking walkway connected us? Like, maybe that is a little silly.
Well, I guess I wonder too now, just in this moment, if Al was just like saying that as a throwaway, like Al knew it connected.
I mean, maybe, but the audience
just
doesn't.
Right.
That's the real point.
That's
This is a wink, wink, nod to the audience. What the hell? And it's like, okay,
it was a way to get into the scene quicker.
And to get a cheap laugh, which is great, actually. I don't have a problem with it. I just think it's very odd.
It's just like when he like saw like Alma Garrett across the way. He's like, me and that woman have never had two words together.
and just in case we missed that, they repeated it this episode. I think E.B. Farm says, who I think you've never spoken to him before, and it's just like, why are they so?
Of course, E.B. repeated it.
Why are they building up that tension? Like, why do we? I don't know. But yeah,
it was a good conversation.
But you make a good point that he's trying to still control the press or whatever and get him on his side. But it does come across as a little like genuine pep talk.
Yeah.
It's an inspiring speech, and as we watched it, Jordan said this is one of my favorite speeches in the show.
Yeah, it is. It's like I like it because it, like, whether or not, I mean, I feel like Al does have sort of a softer side, or like he does care about people.
Yeah.
But also he's like, he needs to give him a pep talk because he needs the newspaper operating.
Of course.
But yeah, and I think that is so, that pep talk that he gave is so intrinsic to his own
he could have just threatened him and told him to get the fuck back up and start doing what
he could
need
have.
you to do.
But I think that someone who's already distraught and has been bullied around probably would not respond.
But that's what Cy Tolliver would do and did do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like he's
that's
already
how they operate differently.
He's in despair because that already happened to him. So,
right.
But yeah, and the whole thing about beatings it seems like a very personal thing to Al.
Yeah.
About being beat and not like that. Well, the pep talk he was giving him is something he's said in his head before, like or it's something.
I mean, also he just got the ever living shit beaten out of him to the point where he had a stroke.
Yeah,
and all that shit and everything.
But that you basically can't.
So it's like,
let it defeat you.
Yeah, he's like, I've just had the beating of my fucking life, and then had to pass this shit out of my dick hole. And, and you're mad because you're sad because like your press got smashed and the doc slapped you one time. It's like, come on.
It's inspirationally nihilistic.
Yeah.
The speech. It was at
Well, I mean, it's just that's how the fucking world is. You're gonna get slapped around all the time,
exactly,
and you just gotta fucking get back up.
It's
and not
right here. It's the give some back that I like the most. So
including last night, that's 3 fucking damage incidents that didn't kill you. Pain or damage don't end the world, or despair, or fucking beatings. The world ends when you're dead. Until then, you got more punishment in store. Stand it like a man and give some back.
I love that.
It's great.
It's like I would be uplifted by that.
Well, I don't know. We don't know how Merrick takes it. He's like, I think he's still holding his jaw, how he was slapped.
Yeah.
I think we will find out later if it has an effect on Merrick. But my favorite thing about it is this episode is full of emphasis that Al is trying to walk more and like leave his office and actually walk.
Try to be active.
He's doing like exercises.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
calisthenics.
He stares. It's like, it's a full on be a man, Merrick, but then he's like holds his gaze, full of inspirational holding his gaze, and he's like slowly, awkwardly maneuvering his back
to get back out of this.
It's awkward long shot. It's the only indication that the show is not completely behind Al's bullshit, and it is sincere, I think.
Yeah,
but it's also he needs Merrick.
It serves his purpose as well, but just because it serves his purpose doesn't mean that he doesn't mean it too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I
because he's had several sort of speeches about taking beatings.
Exactly. In one way or another.
And like the thing, with Trixie, where that was kind of weighing on his conscience about,
putting the foot on her neck.
And that he even apologized to her later, kind of, or did he? I can't remember.
Know. He mentioned that he put his foot on her neck.
It wasn't to her. It was to somebody else.
Oh, it was to Jewel, right?
Yeah. Like he.
Or no, that was for the grabbing her by the pussy.
Yeah. It's like message received. I won't do that anymore.
Do it again.
But yeah.
But I do think it is this little speech to Merrick is one of the most the best inspirational Al. If you're going to take an Al quote and put it on a doily and put
exactly,
that would be like, oh yeah, I need to stand things like a man and give some back. Yeah, fuck the world.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to survive out of spite.
Yeah. And again, it's like Al as the world's manliest man, giving this wisdom that, and I love, my favorite thing is he calls getting hurt damage incidents.
Yeah.
Like, that's very strange.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
Joanie pays back her loan to Jack the bartender.
Your friendly bartender. Sorry.
Wait, what?
It's from... Battlefield Earth.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Oh. Was that Forrest Whitaker? No, it was John Travolta.
John Travolta pulls the bartender's head out of like a box, and he's like, yeah.
So Joanie pays the bartender back.
Pays the bartender back, and then Lee, who looks awesome, comes out of Sai is interviewing Lee. He's like, how do you dispose of your bodies? And Lee just does his patented say nothing in English and just stares, so everyone thinks he doesn't know how to speak English. So he very well knows how to speak English.
Right.
And Lee saunters out, and he looks like a Sergio Leone, like Lee Van Cleef. He's dressed all in black, and it's kick-ass like coat fitted to his body, and he has guns on either hip. And he saunters past Leon and Con, who, you guys pointed out, are like a vaudeville routine this episode.
Yeah.
Except that vaudeville routine always goes into like period accurate racism, like every single time. So it's like, these guys are so, oh fuck.
Oh man.
And so they are like, are angry at his bearing and how awesome he looks and how he tips his hat at Joanie, and that is like too much for Con and Leon.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out, Lee is played by Wu from The Big Lebowski. He's the man who pees on The Big Lebowski's rug.
Okay.
And it's a total like 180, where that guy, the Wu character in Big Lebowski, is like ridiculous and silly and a doofus. And here he's like, I feel like he's an unsung character because he's just really badass through just his gestures. And in this scene, the whole point is just that they say some really racist shit about him. The first of their many
is just. We've mentioned before that Tolliver's henchmen are just the worst.
They're the worst. I mean, because
bare minimum.
Al wouldn't even employ them to work for them.
I'd be surprised if Tolliver pays them anything.
Well, you call them G.I. Joe villains or something like they're like cartoon villains.
Yeah, they're cartoon villains.
They're the goofy henchmen that are like they're like Team Rocket.
Right, Team Rocket or Putty Men from fucking Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What are we going? Yeah, and then they like, yeah.
And
It's the way fucking Stapleton, is his name, is dressed. It's just like so fucking ridiculous.
It is.
I mean,
it's period accurate.
I know,
but that's
why
comical.
they try to limit some of that stuff, right, in the show to not make it look so silly. I guess,
you wouldn't want
by modern standards
someone to be so goofy looking.
But that's how a lot of people did dress.
Yeah,
and so
right. Well, it's just like Bullock not having a huge
which I have seen.
caterpillar mustache.
I have seen an image from the trailer, and he has the big gigantic mustache.
Yeah.
you need to go. We need to show you the real image of real Bullock because you'll.
I think. No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is that mustache.
I just have it in my head. He's Yosemite Sam or whatever.
He does. Yeah. It's like it's like extreme Sam Elliott.
Yeah. In the next scene, we have a Cy and Joanie version of the Merrick and Al scene where Cy is well, actually that doesn't happen yet, but right now we get the lead up where Joanie is like basically asking Cy, were her friends who's mysteriously disappeared from the Shazam, are they dead? And Cy basically very casually lets it drop that they're dead and he's disposed of the remains.
Yeah, they're nobodies.
Basically this kicks off her plot for the episode of her telling Charlie goes kicks dude's ass, and then the letter thing happens, and then she's kind of wandering through this episode, just like she doesn't have anything now. Everything's been taken away from her. And then in the last image of the episode is her just sitting in an empty room.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah, and she looks so prim and proper sitting in that room. It's a little bit odd. She's been drinking all day, but she still has like perfect bearing.
Yeah. That's just how she is.
To jump ahead to another Cy and Joanie scene just a little bit later, he gives a version of Al's speech where he's like, he wouldn't permit her as a friend of his to offer her neck to the future to be cut metaphorically.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few times where we see, I guess, Cy kind of be nice. He kind of was worried about Joanie, and he wanted to make her. He's like he still wants
undercuts it constantly with awful things.
Yes.
That he says,
Yeah, because he doesn't want to act like he has a heart.
Don't be like your dead fucking friend.
Yeah.
is not a nice thing to say.
Right.
but it's coming from a good place.
Yeah.
And he really just wants her. He just wants to keep her in his building so he can protect her, is what he says. I mean, he obviously that's.
I think there are ulterior motives there.
Yeah,
too.
I think it might
he didn't
be.
want her to leave in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
And is still like sore about that. So he's like kind of using this situation to try and manipulate her back.
Right.
It's like, see,
Yeah.
it's no walk in the park,
Oh yeah, because what does he say?
He says,
scenes?
"It's no picnic, is it, honey? Running pussy."
Yeah, and
At the end of the. Yeah.
It's like, that was the lesson. That's why your three friends had to get their throats slit.
Well,
so you could learn that it's not easy.
what drives me crazy
What
is
I do.
Powers Booth is an amazing actor who sells all these lines where it's just this rich baritone where it's
Yeah.
like he just sounds awesome when
Yeah.
he's making a joke, cutting somebody down, but they never give him, at least not so far, any like redeeming values at all.
No.
And every single moment they have to remind you that he is misogynistic, racist, and evil, they will sell you 100%.
Right. Yeah, I guess they
munching
needed,
on that cigar. And
yeah, they really needed in a D&D sense or whatever, they needed to have like a completely evil, what is it?
Lawful
evil or chaotic evil?
It's
I
like
guess.
chaotic evil is like
I
the
guess.
other
Well,
end.
a chaotic evil would be like, I mean, he
Wolcott.
had,
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
I mean,
yeah,
it's hard. There's
because he really doesn't care about anything except his jollies.
Yeah. But I mean, they needed somebody who's just like pure bad. Since Al, they started humanizing Al.
Yeah.
Throughout the show because you had to.
Yeah.
And then Bullock is kind of the other end of that spectrum already. So
yeah. There are some D&D alignments online,
Bullock
and the ones I've seen, I didn't get it quite right for me. Like there's a lot of characters, and there's a lot of ways to like put them in. Doc Cochran, I think, was maybe in the center.
here's the scale. Okay, it's like this is what like good and evil should be, and Deadwood like crunches it down like this and skews it this way. So here's your good.
Right, yeah.
Actual goods over here. Here's the best person in the show, quote unquote, and it's like
Yeah.
Sheriff Bullock, who's fucking around and
yeah. He's
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say Saul, but he doesn't really do anything either. So I can't really say he's good or bad. I mean,
Saul is
he's just kind of neutral.
Yeah, I feel like he's good.
He's putting together a bank.
He's inoffensive as far as like he doesn't.
So then he doesn't stand up for anything, and he's not actually like good.
Saul is a pillar of the community.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
I mean, he put together a bank this episode. Or no, he didn't. He's helping put together a bank slowly.
He was approached to put together.
He backs Bullock's play a lot.
He's got a hardware business, and he's like he helps out his friend Bullock. You know, he's just a great guy. Saul, go Saul.
Yeah, I guess so.
I take your point.
He's passively good, is what I'm saying. Is he?
That's what I meant to say when I said inoffensive. Yeah,
there's no.
He's not a very proactive character.
No, but he'll do the right thing if given the chance to.
Yes,
that's it. I mean, where I think.
And he stays pretty positive.
Yeah. I mean, there are other characters like.
I feel like
Charlie is. But
Charlie is the more active person in that, but he's usually kind of out of the loop and coming in on the back end of things
with very little knowledge.
What's going on here?
Going on, and then he just like hauls off and does something.
I would put Ellsworth, Reverend Smith,
Ellsworth. Ellsworth is good.
And
Jane.
Chaotic good.
Yeah. The Reverend was alive.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Rest in peace.
Rest in pepperoni.
Rest in pepperoni. Rest in pepperoni.
Our next scene is Wolcott is shaving in the mirror, and he's like shaving with a straight razor.
And he wants to kill himself.
Yeah.
And be done with it.
He's a coward.
He is.
And then we get.
And he probably came in his pants when he thought about killing himself.
Yeah.
What it is he was shaving, and then he came in his pants, and then he wanted to kill himself because he like immediately felt shame. It happened between.
Yeah.
That's how quick. He's too quick.
And then we have E.B and Al. Al's exercising, trying to walk again. And E.B comes in and starts following him as he walks back and forth across the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then he's like, don't fucking follow me.
I like that stuff too. That's kind of more slapsticky.
Yeah.
I mean, when they lock off a camera and like just the blocking of the scene, it was very like a stage play comedy kind of beat. Right. Where he's just following him as he paces. And I mean,
this is basically just... I mean, it does serve the purpose of continuing to kind of leave E.B out of things, but as the episode's called, but
the episode is titled "E.B Was Left Out."
Yeah,
but for a scene that's basically just a plot thing, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's what he's good at.
Was that all one shot? Like that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, but it
was
just one locked off shot. Yeah.
And so Al says he wants to go visit the widow, Garrett, across the street. Right. And then we get Joanie. Joanie is walking through the thoroughfare, and our wonderful scene directions here say "with no hat!" ! Which I didn't notice. But anyway, Joanie and Charlie, she goes to where Charlie is at his post office, and
she's so great in this episode.
She's excellent.
She's all choked up and like telling him what happened, and she's still processing it herself, kind of. So it's more like she's just like exercising it out of her, like she has to vent it at him,
right?
And not really necessarily even knowing why, except just to get it out, because she knows she can trust him.
Yeah. I think it is interesting that in that scene, though, I think the first thing that catches your eye is Charlie's badge.
It's pinned on his suspenders.
Yeah, and so like she comes in and tells the law this thing that's happened, and like I said, I think, and we've talked about people's motives for doing things sometimes, and
it might have been a subconscious,
and I don't think that she necessarily was thinking that when she came in there. It was like,
this is combination post office jail.
Yes, combination post office jail
with the bars in the background.
Right. But yeah, maybe somewhere deep down inside she was hoping he would.
Well, and I was thinking too, like when she originally went to Cy and said that she wasn't going to cause a problem and those girls were gone, she was hoping that there were remains.
Yeah.
And when he said that there weren't, I think maybe that
cut
changed.
Yeah, that cut pretty hard.
Yeah,
things for her.
She says the place is empty of any sign that they was ever born or lived or got killed. And then she retroactively says, "It's a secret, Charlie. It's only between us. I told you as a friend," which is awesome.
Yeah.
And he immediately accepts that. I like that she doesn't mention the girl who got killed, who came in from out of town, Carrie. Like in her conversation with Cy, she just calls her as that girl twice. And here she remembers her name fully and she says Carrie.
Yeah, that's kind of like a sweet touch.
Yeah.
And then our next scene is
it's a little silly goon and Cy scene where the goons are talking to
Leon.
Cy.
Yeah, and Cy basically gives them what pitch would you use to sell these Chinese prostitutes to the people of the camp?
Yeah.
Man, and they just fuck it up so bad later. We can just talk about it now. We don't have to talk about it when it comes up. I mean, like, he tells them this very eloquent thing that you might, like, hear, like, some guy barking at you on the street. And he's, like, very, over-the-top, grandiose kind of way of
well, he's saying that these women are from a foreign country and therefore their vaginas are different.
And that they have, like, a grip like a python or something. I don't remember.
Few live to tell the tale or something like that.
And it's poetic. And again, in Powers Booth's voice, it just sounds poetic.
But can you imagine Con Stapleton then having to I lost the word. But yeah, having to try and then turn around and translate that and like pass that message on to people.
And then he says something about milking your penis.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Well, that's a little later.
But that's what I'm saying. We can go ahead and talk about that now, and then we don't have to.
It's like the game where like you whisper something in someone's ear, like down a
telephone.
Line. Yeah. And
except
he didn't quite remember it right.
Except it only went in one fucking ear, and he couldn't. It's not like it went through 20 other people's.
Yeah.
And he said, like,
milk you of all your woes or whatever.
Like, he's like there wouldn't be nothing left of you then.
I love that Tom has kind of turned on him a little bit.
Yeah, like because he's a fucking moron, and Tom's not an idiot.
No,
he's just like
it was like this relationship he had with this guy before he realized kind of like.
That
what a shitbird he is.
Yeah.
Well, he saw him do a murder for hire.
Right.
And he was with Bullock when he threw his Constapleton badge in the muck.
Yeah.
And he kind of
leave it on the ground. You bought out son of a
bitch.
Yeah. But I love how they're basically all sitting around talking about because they're so racist against Chinese people, they won't spend a dime on these prostitutes, a literal dime.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Con trying to emulate Powers Booth or Cy Tolliver has this. He says, the Chinese whore has an ancient way of milking you of your sorrow, your loneliness amid that awful feeling of being forsaken. And they all just kind of look at their feet and they're like, oh shit, we're alone here in the wilderness and no one loves us. Yeah. And they're sad. And it's a funny.
Yeah. There was like
instead of playing up the positive aspects, he's like.
They'll distract you from your miserable existence.
How miserable you are.
Well, it is an important part of advertising that you need to make sure the person who's being advertised to feels a lack.
Yeah.
They don't have something important.
Yeah.
Are you tired of this happening
But if you
to
basically insult them and then tell them that their lives aren't worth living, then that's different from being like, you lack this. Wouldn't it be great if you had this? And then that way things would be better for you.
Yeah.
That's different from you're a miserable son of a bitch with nothing to live for.
Right, yeah.
And this is a very stacked cast of secondary comic characters. This is like the guy who sold his claim. I think his name is Marvin, but he's not listed here to Cy a few episodes.
Hawkeye was in that scene?
Hawkeye was in the background. He lifts his drink and says he calls his penis Johnny Roger.
Oh, yeah.
That's who said Johnny Roger, sorry.
Okay.
Maybe it's mistranscribed here. Maybe Jolly Roger, but... then we get Leon, Tom, Con, and the guy who's referred to in our script as Shit Stirrer, the guy who
from a couple episodes ago.
All we're missing
sits at the bar and like arranges for people to get in a gunfight with each other, kind of thing.
Yeah, very strange character.
He does, yeah.
But then
he goes and he sits at the bar and he drinks and he stirs shit up.
Yep.
And the outcome of all of this work by Con and Leon with the Chinese prostitutes is they're sitting outside and they get a John who's just paid a dime to have sex, and it's this pure straight comic scene.
It's insane.
The whole, like, if you just had that plot line, it's like a lesson in marketing.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And,
That's
and
exactly
is
what
it
is.
working? You need to do like market research.
Market research. You got to do. What they basically do a survey of this guy.
Right. Well, yeah. 10 out of 10. One dime again.
Yeah.
And it's very awkward. There's a lot of comic things. They put their hand on his shoulder, and they're like, they don't know him, and they're just accosting him in the dark.
Yeah.
And he's just like staring forward, and he's like, it was well worth the dime.
And, well, because at first he's like, why the fuck are you watching me coming out of where I was just fucking her? It's like, what?
And not subtly either. They're like goofily like peeking and
okay, so they're like in cages, right? They haven't settled that up yet, right?
Well, I mean, I think
hasn't changed.
I assume that the
like
reason we
tense,
don't. Again, this is always this awkward balance in Deadwood between like the extreme violence, racism, like rape and death, and the comic elements. And
right.
So we don't see the actual.
But they're looking
Chinese
through the cages.
Yeah.
So were they watching him have sex?
No, I don't think they're literally where the cages are. Like I didn't notice.
They're like looking down the street.
There's a line. They refer to a line that's but it's over the hill. We can't see it. So I think so we can better enjoy it.
Okay.
But I didn't know. You're right. There were cages.
There were
in that
cages
scene.
right there. That's
so
what
maybe
I'm saying.
there were.
That's what I said. Were they just fucking sitting there watching them?
Oh God, yeah. That's a much darker scene than I realized. I didn't see that there was anyone in the bar things.
Well, I didn't see that either. That's why. I
didn't think.
But they
about
make
it
a reference to Lee.
Yeah.
And the kind of, if we want a progressive point.
It feels like a Shakespearean thing where it's like, oh, all this massive thing that's going on over there because we don't want to build this set.
Yes, yeah. But they come to the point where they're like, oh, that the Lee, who we made fun of earlier for having airs as he tipped his hat to Joanie,
right.
He's fluent in 2 languages.
Yes.
He's willing to stand in the muck, unlike us, and he did our job for us and better than us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so like that's, again, the show is tipping its hand and saying,
they insofar as they can, they're acknowledging that they're not cut out for this.
For anything.
Really.
They're barely cut out for a living.
yeah.
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 Well, I mean, Con Stapleton knows how to murder a person for money. I mean, they're
I guess,
doing good.
barely.
Yeah.
They're making out. They're working at Cy Tolliver's. They're doing
As long
great.
as he's
They're
sort
doing
of
great.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, they're probably rolling in the money.
Yeah.
That's a big thing too that
I'm convinced of Jordan's theory that they're not being paid.
no it's
Well, Leon would be paid in dope.
Leon's paid in
exactly.
dope and Con Stapleton feels important.
Exactly. And he gets to drink at the bar for free probably, and that's it.
Sure. No, probably not even that. I'm sure Cy wanders over to him. I hope you're gonna pay for that.
Our next scene, we have Charlie begins his feigned annoyance at Wolcott for stepping on his fucking feet. And this is intercut with Alma and E.B. And E.B. is like, he wants to tell, he comes up to Alma and Sophia at table and puts down this just rancid pile of meat.
It was like a kidney or something.
Yeah, he says, a selection of choice humbles for the little girl. And Sophia just looks disgusted by it. And he says, how adorably she sniffs at the tang of the freshness in the kidneys. And Alma again.
What the fuck is happening with that?
with him?
I don't know.
How do you interpret it?
How do I interpret it?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's fucking with her. I can't really tell.
No, I really
it's
can't hard to
tell.
tell with EB because I interpreted it as him just like trying to. I feel like he's constantly trying to do things to ingratiate himself to Mrs. Garrett.
But do you think he's starting to try to annoy her on purpose because he's starting to finally? I mean, after that one episode where they were at the bottom of the stairs, and then he realized he literally says like, I'm out of my element or something with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
pull one over on me.
Out of my depths.
Out of my depths. Do you think maybe he's finally seen that she does not like him and is like maybe trying to fuck with her subtly, especially because she was trying to buy the hotel.
Yeah, she's been trying to fuck with him.
She even offered to buy the hotel, and he was like, and he went off on this whole long tangent by himself in the soliloquy where he was like, I will not sell this hotel to you,
Yeah.
Miss Miss Garrett. So maybe this is him trying to get her to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
If he's doing it, he is being very subtle about it because he's always got something to lose in that interaction.
Of course.
Like, she doesn't care if he likes her or not.
No.
But yeah, he.
What does he have to lose at this point?
Well, just because he's always having to be sent over there for information, so he's got to keep a door open there, you know. Like, he was asking her on the way up the steps, like, what the meeting is about, and so he has to at least feign.
But at this point,
cordialness.
what do these meetings do for him? They don't seem to be doing anything for him. I mean, other than he's under Al's boot.
Well, that's all it is. I think.
But I mean, like, if she were to just leave the hotel and he didn't have to deal with it anymore,
I think
then
he'd
I'm
still
sure
get sent over to inquire as to her.
You don't think you'd send Johnny or something just to send a message,
Not to talk to Mrs. Garrett.
just to be like, Al, won't you?
Yeah, for those he can send Johnny.
Send a turkey.
But if he wants, like, any time, and of course, I mean, this is kind of, I don't know if Al is. Surely he knows. I don't
know how much more use she has to Al either.
Right, but it seems like Al sends EB to gather information, knowing full well that EB's not good at talking to people.
Yeah,
sometimes, like, just to torture him.
I mean, the only use that she's had recently after the whole, the gold claim stuff and the child. I mean, that's all first season stuff. Mm-hmm. The only reason they've needed to, and the reason why they have not interacted is because they really didn't need to have any interaction until just now with the Pinkerton
Al's
stuff.
Got go-betweens.
Right.
And then there's Bullock. And
well, I mean, they literally killed her husband and tried to kill her adopted child.
Yeah,
like,
but that's
no hard feelings.
That's forever.
Tell the kid no hard feelings.
That was last summer.
Yeah, last summer. But
yeah,
I mean, and they live right across from each other and see each other on the balcony all the time.
Right. Well, that's the other thing too that I was going to mention before. A lot of things color your interpretation because I have to keep reminding myself that this camp's not been set up very long.
Right.
Like months.
Yeah.
Maybe a year at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, definitely been a year because they've gone through a winter.
Right. Yeah.
But
so when we first meet these people, they hadn't been set up long.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so they're still figuring out the status quo.
Right.
You know, it's not just these new people coming into an established thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but on a non, like in a world where Alma could forgive Farnham for basically taking part in trying to kill her and kill her husband and kill her child, he needs a friend. And I would like for Farnham to experience love or happiness. And
he's got Richardson.
And so, he does have Richardson. But
it's like kick in the ass.
And it is kind of hard for him. He can't keep his delusion that he's somewhat respectable or able to interact with the others when she's saying things like, he says, I'm a penny for your thoughts. She says, I'm glad to be leaving your company. And she takes her child and just flees up the stairs.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think the diseased kidneys they put in for her was like maybe to poison her a little bit, just a little, make her uncomfortable. But it was supposed to be something that she didn't understand. But the meat was so rancid that even the child understood that was not good for her.
I mean, also it's kidneys, and kids are not going to eat a fucking kidney.
Yeah.
After this, he confides actually in her. She says he wants to know the purpose of the meeting, and she says, didn't Mr. Swearingen confide? Just making fun of him, and he just looks at his feet and says he hasn't been well, and that's the end of their interaction.
And that's why he missed the utter fight.
Yeah.
Fight.
Right.
Oh, which
the utter beatdown.
The fucking smackdown.
And in Utter, we've talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the episode, but Utter, he points out that Wolcott has a giant a pussified shooting instrument and a big fucking knife. Or I forget, I don't know where he says the big fucking knife, but whatever it is.
He saw the knife and he assumes somewhere on his person he had some kind of pussified shooting instrument.
Yeah. And he kicks him in the back of the crotch and says, what does he say? He says like... in
the taint?
In the taint. He says...
Where God stitched you up.
And he says, take a beating and know how it fucking feels to be helpless and have no one fucking stick up for you. Which is, a direct call out to the prostitutes who were murdered.
Right.
And there's a nice ADR line where Cy Tolliver walks out and he looks at his henchman and he looks at the beating. And his colleague here is being beaten to pulp in the streets and he's like, I'll be at Swearingen's.
He just walks over there. When he walks over there to like let Swearingen know, like, this guy, you don't need to be messing with this guy.
Yeah.
Like they need to know to not...
Let's be on the same page.
Yeah, we don't need to bring that... to the camp. We don't need to piss off these people.
Let's convene the government.
Right.
The 6 people.
Johnny
at this
opens
table.
some peaches.
Opens some fucking peaches.
But it's kind of a mirror of the scene where all the good people in the camp are watching Kristen Bell, Flora, and Miles get beaten, and Cy Tolliver is like, your delicate sensibilities, turn the fuck away.
I love that
and,
line.
And like here, Cy is looking on at his agent being beaten, and he's just like, whatever. Like it's going back the other way where the good guys are beating the bad guys in the street, and then the bad guys are just looking on and just kind of ambivalent.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter.
Well, and I feel like however. I don't know, like however Tolliver is mixed up in all of this Wolcott Hearst stuff.
Yeah.
I think he'd prefer not to be. Like, I don't think he likes.
No, he doesn't.
I don't think he likes the situation.
If he could kill with that guy, if he could kill Hearst, if he could kill all, be done with it, and it's
and just go back to running his joint.
Yeah,
and trying to buy property out from under Swearingen.
Yeah, and
take over the camp.
Yeah, slowly take over the camp.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
But he's kind of in a predicament.
Yeah, he's under the heel of a fucking bigger shithawk.
Yeah. So that's why I think he kind of just lets it happen, knowing that he won't be held responsible.
Yeah.
I like Johnny's theory about their fight, which is that he had corns.
He had corns on his feet.
Yeah.
That might have tipped. So somebody said, E.B. said he heard that Utter, like the Wolcott stepped on Utter's foot. And then Johnny, maybe had corns.
If Utter's got corns, that might have could have touched it off. And then there's also a nice bit of business where Al is trying to urinate and Johnny is
in the way.
Between
oh my
him,
god! It's like he just doesn't get it, and they're still talking to each other. Or he's still talking to E.B.
As
I'm
he's
sorry.
like pulling his wiener out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Belloc pulls Charlie off, and Charlie retreats to the fiction that he stepped on his toe.
Right, which keeps up for the rest of the episode. Everybody
Yeah.
just keeps saying, stepped on his fucking toe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even Al, because Cy gets up at that table where they're discussing what to do with Wolcott, and he goes on this really long fucking rant.
Right, and shows his hand too.
And shows his hand very quickly.
And Al picks up on it. I think they do like a reaction shot where it's like, hell, maybe you murdered somebody. Maybe you murdered a couple of people.
You have Al looking on, and you also have Bullock realizing.
I don't care what brought it on, murder, more than one. George Hearst, geologist, doesn't need to be convicted of a crime in any court convened by humans. It's like and then basically just said they're going to kill us all if we
so
do
much
this.
money and influence.
But that's like a 20-second rant by Cy Tolliver, to which Al responds, eating a peach. He says, all that geologist did was step on Utter's foot.
Well, but Al is using the information he had from like the previous episode where he saw Joanie leave and he saw Charlie put people in the
Sure,
thing.
he knows what's going on.
Yeah, and but obviously in real life,
but we have to keep up this lie.
Yeah.
Is what Al's saying. Is like that's all that happened.
Yeah.
It's like let's just move on.
Yeah, but
Stop talking, Cy.
Right.
But there's the Hearst is this huge corporation, and the people who are telling the people of the town that you can't fuck with that corporation are agents of the town, agents of the corporation.
Right.
Yeah.
Cy is basically saying he'll kill us all if we don't do what he wants, but Cy is directly making money off Hearst coming into town.
Right.
And I'm not sure if this is the first time that Swearingen learns that, because he's been convalescing, that that Wolcott is Hearst agent. I think he might learn it from Cy when he tells him. I may be wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's also a really nice moment when Cy talks to Al. Jewel makes fun of Al.
I love that so
my
much.
God, that's
Always
great.
dragging that fucking leg.
Yeah. And Al takes it. Again, like a normal human would.
Right.
And she did that in front of Cy.
Yeah.
And nobody even really batted an eye at it. I love it.
And we get a scene where Doc takes care of Wolcott. And let's see. And Wolcott says, I have a letter from Wild Bill, which we learn later he's memorized. It touched him so much that he's memorized the letter.
Right.
But anyway, and Doc, Wolcott's broken some ribs, and Doc very kind of strangely says he agrees to pass along the message that Wolcott wants to meet with Utter, and he has a letter, and it's all very suspicious. And he's like, I hope this won't lead to further violence. And he just takes Wolcott's word.
Yeah.
And it's like, that Doc Cochran. Just don't mention it.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, and also, it's just whatever I got to say to get out of this room.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And to put my own conscience at ease.
Right, yeah.
Which is what he does a lot,
And he did the thing, and I do this sometimes.
Yeah.
In a similar situation, maybe not so dire, but it's like, that's what he said to say, and I've said it.
Yep.
I am removed from the situation now.
Well, I mean, I guess it's just because Doc Cochran is a morally good character and Charlie Utter is a morally good character. You feel like they probably know each other. I mean, they do interact, but I guess they may not know each other as well as we know them. But I feel like Doc Cochran could have looked out a little bit more for Charlie by just saying, "Don't go over there. That dude's devious. Don't do that."
Yeah.
I liked it that he gives Charlie a pat on the back as he walks away.
Yeah.
It's just like a little touch. I don't know.
Yeah. So then we get like another a thing where Al goes to visit the widow Garrett, and E.B. cannot help but stand near Al and comment to him about the particulars of walking up the stairs. And Al is struggling to move like the left half of his body up the stairs, and he treats E.B. like a dog. He says like,
"Go back,
go back," and.
Is that why he says that to Richardson?
Yeah, that is why he says that to Richardson.
Oh yeah.
E.B. is mimicking Al.
He's a parrot.
Yeah, but he says,
my favorite thing that E.B. says in this scene is the ruddy health of your complexion may bring the pattern out differently, talking about his suit.
He thinks it's a new
he
suit.
comments it's a new suit.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great line. And E.B. kicks the baluster of the stairs because he can't refrain from speaking.
Yeah.
Like Al's already told him to go back, and he's like, started talking about where Wolcott is in the hotel and which hotel room. And he just can't stop himself.
Talk about more people convalescing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get probably one of the, I didn't think when I first saw this was one of the best scenes in the series, but I love this scene. It's between Alma and Al.
It's really good.
And they've never met. We've confirmed that several times. And now they're meeting, and Al is dressed up like he was in the very first episode, like a.
He's been to Chicago.
Like
he's been to Chicago.
Like Gomez from the Addams Family, like with his like pinstripe suit and slick back hair.
Yeah,
and
like a thick Jack Skellington.
Yes. And he awkwardly basically says, congratulations on your claim, and brings up her husband, which is not a good opening gambit.
Yeah.
And she clarifies.
Yeah, a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, he calls her husband's death a mishap, and she clarifies it and emphasizes death. And they talk about him trying to buy her through Mr. Farnham, and are interrupted by Sophia being so frightened by Al being in the room with her.
At first, when Sophia was talking about going downstairs, I thought like she's just learned that when gentlemen come upstairs, it's like for her to fuck, and so it's like go downstairs.
He's just here to talk, Sophia.
That's what I thought.
I know, because they've had this conversation about Bullock,
right? But I think that it is more.
A man is here.
Now that I'm seeing it, written out, I'm like, okay, I understand.
She
what
looks scared. They show her, and she remembers from when he came to her hotel room before sending someone to knife her
to wake her up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She knows. She knows he's.
Jane was like having a panic attack behind him.
Yeah. And he looks like Satan.
Yeah. She knows he's Satan, and he says, she says, "You frighten her." He says, "I'll have that effect." She says, "I think specifically it was your plotting against her life."
Oh, and then at the end of the scene when he says, "You'll tell that child no hard feelings." No hard feelings for trying to murder you.
Yeah. I like too that that she tried to get him to control his profanity in the room,
right?
And so watching him kind of try to struggle with that was fun.
And it's interesting that you'd notice how his speech pattern changes when he can't curse.
Yeah,
and it's like strange. It's like a different character. Almost.
Yeah.
Well, and he can't recognize in a sentence where he's cussed, and she has to point it out to him.
Yeah, he had to retrace his steps. Yeah, and then the what kind of tea do you like? I like that, and that's the thing. It just makes me think of like Jane and Charlie and the whole swear jar thing. That she's slowly getting everybody in the camp to keep track of swearing around her.
Right.
It's. I like how many people like that kid, and it softens people to when they're around them. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like Ellsworth sticking his tongue out at her all the time.
Yeah, and I think Al clearly in the scene wants no ill will towards either of these people.
Mm-hmm. No.
And he looks a little nervous and little tiny expressions where he looks towards her in the background. The light, as the doors close, changes behind him, and he looks a little bit. He's struggling to put on his jacket and look proper because everyone wants to look really proper for Alma. She's Sophia is has an effect on people because she's like a special lady.
Yeah,
and
high society.
Al is like. There's a nice moment where he says, "You're staying here suits my purpose," and that moment is when she says, "Please minimize your obscenities." Like the obscenity is the fact that her staying there because she really doesn't like men bossing her around throughout the series.
Right.
And another wonderful thing is that unusually Deadwood has this moment where he says he defines why he doesn't like the Pinkertons in this scene. I think maybe the first time, and he says that they're muscle for the bosses. As if the bosses ain't got enough edge. So again, it's unusual for American drama series to say, yeah, workers over bosses. Like that's not something that's always explicit in American drama.
Right.
And I don't know, I like Al basically, he doesn't necessarily want to blackmail her. He just wants the Pinkertons and Hearst not to be in control of the camp.
Yeah.
And anyway, this is going to be a great friendship. I love these two a lot.
Yeah. Fast friends.
Yeah.
Well, and it's great that he in this he kind of just lays out like, look, we are allies right now. I don't like the Pinkertons. I hate everything they stand for.
Water under the fucking bridge.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, can we just get over this so we can, I'll give you this piece of paper saying that.
Saying that they were hiring me, basically proof of them.
To blackmail them, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then the topic of money and stuff gets brought up, and then, it's like, well, I wouldn't want that. At one point he says, he kind of glosses over that and doesn't want to talk about the money at all. He's just talking about his principled reasons why he's doing this. And then at the end he says, what did he say? Also, if you want to match that 50, that'd be between you and your God.
But you get the sense
maybe
they would like each other again if he hadn't murdered her husband. Like they would like her
and tried to murder her new ward.
Yeah. Burt Ward.
Yeah, and then
have we a new pope? She's some fuck E.B.
I love that. Yeah. That's great.
Al makes a joke for E.B.
Right.
Just for E.B. Yeah.
Al really cares.
Or was it to make himself laugh, to confound him? Like, would E.B. suspect the thing? Well, I don't know. E.B.'s sharper than that.
I think he was trying to make a joke because I think he probably realized he did piss him off.
Yeah.
Earlier when he was commanding him like a dog, like you said.
Yeah.
And this is him just trying to be like, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's cool.
At the end of the Cy talking to the group of people, he takes the ashtray or the Peaches bowl and slams it down like a
Johnny
mouse.
flinches.
Yeah, like a gavel, which is like a reference to like the very first time they met, and I think one of them used the like a ashtray as a gavel.
Yeah.
So like now they use exclusively cups as gavels, and it's like again another like slow progression towards like a real like actual system.
And while all this is at the end of this happening is when E.B. is watching them all come out. Mm-hmm. And again, he's soliloquying or whatever to Richardson, who says nothing and just watches. The bald contempt of it. Why not come out 5 abreast, cavorting and taunting? E.B. was left out. Cocksuckers, cunt lickers.
Yeah, and he even says, "To come this way," which is very Shakespearean.
Exactly.
Like, somebody's on the road, you can't see the audience, but you can see them because it's a film.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
To come this way.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, and then there's also another uncharacteristic moment which played for laughs where Cy, he asked how the meeting went to basically rub in that he didn't get invited to the meeting, and neither of them picks up on that, Bullock or Cy, and Cy uncharacteristically says, "Thanks." He says,
Thanks.
"I hope whatever was purposed by your get-together at the gym, I hope came to full fruition. Thanks," Cy says, and he's just like staring up the door, but he's like, I don't know, it's, again, Cy, there could be a Cy that was nice.
Well, I think it was distracted. A distracted thanks.
Yeah.
Like,
Thanks.
Oh, thanks.
And so Steph is less. He meets with Alma.
Yeah.
He wants to know if he should leave the camp, knowing now that she's pregnant.
Knowing now that she's better in the afternoons than she is in the mornings.
Right.
And they're getting along pretty well. And you're like, well, these guys, they're getting along pretty well. But then Seth is like, or Bullock is he's a cad.
Yeah.
He got this girl pregnant, and he's just like, goodbye. Like, can I leave the camp? And if she doesn't want to, then he doesn't want to.
He's okay. So on his side of it, he's thinking, I'm doing this in order to keep her from feeling bad. And
Right.
then on her side
to have
of it,
to look at me and know the kid's this and
on her side of it, it's like, no, you want me to make a decision for you, and it's like, and this is shitty that you're doing this,
right?
And I'm also knocked up with your kid. You're obviously not going to take care of it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, but I mean, it would require, it getting out.
Yeah,
that happened.
exactly.
And so.
But this is already a shitty situation, and then on top of that, you're piling on to this decision that she's now being forced to make because Bullock's bringing it to her.
I think probably from his perspective, he just wanted to know her feelings on the matter.
Exactly.
But it is like, whatever you tell me is how I'm going to
do. So it's like, I mean, both sides have their merits, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think he's being a little shittier without realizing it.
It's a bad situation.
Well, he leaves the scene by, she says she leaves him with a pass. She's like, could we just go back to having the affair and she maybe won't know? And he just says, she says, will you stay? Will she be certain to know? And he says, it becomes you. And again,
pregnancy?
No, I think it's what he means is pregnancy. But it's just like, again, it's saying the fewest syllables he can to leave a room.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to have anything to do.
Did he leave the room or did they cut away?
Oh, I thought he left the room.
It's like he's in the doorway and he says, "It becomes you," and I think they just. I think
it just cuts away.
I mean,
there's a couple weird. There's
right
a couple
there,
weird editing spots in this.
We don't know if that was the last words between them.
There's a spot with that Con Stapleton stuff where we were talking about earlier with the cages and stuff.
Oh yeah, he jumps to the front of the other side.
All of a sudden, like it's like this shot, the way it's edited together, it's like he walks out of this shot and then just like he's in the next shot. Just like right here in your face. Mm-hmm. And it's just very jarring.
It's like they had to edit and they just didn't notice that cut.
Right. It was like normally it's like a crash in or something with the edit, and it was like a crash out, and it was just like, whoa.
This episode also had a zoom, you pointed out, when
during the fight scene.
During the fight scene.
I guess they were shooting with zoom lenses because it makes sense if you're shooting a fight scene so you can get in close and stuff. But they actually left the zoom part in, like a tail end of it in, which I thought is odd in a show like this.
Yeah.
You don't use zooms. I don't remember any zooms in this.
Yeah, that seems like a more that seems like a dated thing to do.
Yeah, what's like 70s, 80s.
Or even Joss Whedon.
Yeah, into the 90s, I guess. But that's kind of gone the way of the dinosaurs.
Except in computer-generated zooms.
Yeah.
With spaceships and flying.
Yeah.
They can't get enough of that crap.
Nope.
They do it on Game of Thrones with dragons.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Well, Battlestar Galactica had some really good space zooms.
They did, but it all felt
unique.
motivated. Like the camera was actually attached to the outside of the ship, and this is the only way they could film it.
Yeah.
You know? But if the camera is already like flying out in the sky and following people, I don't need a zoom in. This is a tangent. That's not.
Well, Deadwood has its roots in McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and Walter Hill did the pilot episode, and there's a lot of 70s in them where they have like slow 70s zooms. Mm-hmm. So it's like it kind of would fit for the idea of, but it's just not the filmmaking of Deadwood.
And I don't want to think I even noticed.
Yeah, it was pretty subtle.
And
it was
it's
pretty
a
good.
fight.
Oh, no.
So
It's
a chaotic, yeah.
It's so subtle. It's I mean, it was just something I noticed. That was it.
Yeah.
But I would like to say, for the record, spaceship zooms need to be cut down.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I think what it is a thing to like try to mask the fact that it's computer generated by making it look like there's an operator.
Yeah.
But I think it always seems tacky to me.
Yeah. Our next scene is Wolcott and Cy, and again we get a serial killer and it's comedic relief.
Yes.
Where it's like Cy is pointing out, I can just hire someone to beat you up. The gratification, the idea that he gets off on being beat up.
Right.
And and Wolcott's no is like, no, I want to meet with Utter. And he's again, I think he's shaving himself again. I don't know what he's doing in the mirror, but anyway.
It's always shaving.
There's a nice little moment at the end of the scene where Garrett Dillahunt reverts to like a silly high-pitched voice. And Cy says, you're tough to be a friend to. And Wolcott says, you make a good point. Like after yelling at him, get out. It's strange. Yeah. And then we get...
I like the way Cy was lit too. Like something about the lighting like was kind of up. So it like put like these evil like frowny shadows on his eyebrows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone is Satan in this show.
Everyone is Satan.
Let's see. Then we get
Trixie and Al, which we were talking about. We don't remember this.
We don't remember when she got so mad last. When she was, she references
this is something that's happened off screen.
Just, She's coming to Al venting about it now.
About getting mad at Bullock and Starr
because we've seen that she's getting mad trying to learn accounting.
Yeah.
Before.
Right.
But not the specific instance that must have happened in between episodes.
She had a flip out and left.
About a decimal or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did they say? She's getting something with the decimals, flippant or careless.
I'm erratic with my decimals and like.
Well, mind your fucking decimals.
Yeah. And then he says, Al again is like a sage mentor in this episode, and he says, so harping on the decimals is now a hardship on the same fucking order of a boot on your fucking neck. Again, he was the guy who put his fucking
perspective. But yeah, it's kind of a weird source to hear that from.
But good thing that Al is there for her counselor. And then there's also, it lingers on him when she leaves. He's like, she's just ranting about decimals, and he's like, he's just like, he gives her what she needs, not what she wants, which is, mind your fucking decimals. And she's like, okay, yeah, I'll go back there and try harder at math. And then it cuts to him, and he just is like clearly still in love with her, and he just kind of looks.
He smiled, yeah, when she left.
It's a nice moment. Again, these kids, things are going to work out for them.
Oh my God.
And
then we get Seth and Saul figuring out, or Bullock and Starr figuring out that why Charlie beat up Wolcott in the street, not because of his toes, but because he had killed people at the Shamey.
Yeah, Wolcott. That's the utter confrontation.
Yeah.
Again, Wolcott kind of did get what he wanted out of him. Like Charlie Utter, for all his not, I'm not going to tell anybody anything, kind of gave it away anyway.
Yeah.
Like it confirmed his suspicions that Joanie told him.
Yeah.
Which puts, to me, Joanie in Wolcott's crosshairs. A way I'm not.
I'm sorry. We were. That's a little bit ahead.
Oh, it is.
This is Saul and Starr.
And Trixie shows up.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's okay. I confirmed it. I was like, yeah, I know, totally. Trixie goes back to Bullock and Starr and basically says, she gives us this strange she apologizes to Bullock, which is like the nicest thing she's ever done to Bullock is like apologize to him. Like basically she talks about she's hating him.
I can't figure out if it's like fake.
I think she's sincere.
I think.
But she's like having this
but
whole...
her sincere is mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
but
it's like this whole range of emotions where his only reaction is nods. Sure.
No, he's not good at like talking.
Doing anything.
So. Yeah, and she says...
not good at doing anything that involves emotions.
She says, and since I do tend to be prickly when I am in the wrong, if you on your part was to realize Moses did the heavy lifting already, and he doesn't understand, he says, the fucking tablets and so forth. That might lighten the atmosphere too. And so it's like she's on a different planet.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't even get what she's talking about.
I don't think I do either. What is
she's saying that he's carrying the 10 Commandments.
Right.
And he's not Moses. Bullock isn't.
Oh, okay.
And so
stop being a fucking goody two shoes know-it-all fuckhead.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Okay, yeah.
Because he's such a moralist and he's such a rage monster, strange biblical Puritan freak who runs the town. But it's just like, I don't know, I find this moment very human because I know a lot of people who can have like an emotional journey which doesn't involve the other person. Like this woman is angry at Bullock all the time. She wants to kill him.
Yeah.
And now she's apologizing to him as if they had some interaction.
And he has no idea what's going on at all.
He doesn't know who she is. He's just annoyed when she's having sex with her boyfriend in his office.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Tread lightly, who lives in hope of pussy.
Yeah. And then, and meanwhile, Saul is horny. Like there's just this shot of Saul is like a nerdy guy who's really into Trixie, and he's like
guidance for me before you turn to your numbers.
Yeah, he's a nerd. He's such a nerd. But he's also probably the best person in the show.
Yeah.
But let's see what else we have. We have Al talking to the decapitated head of the Indian from the first season.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking that's what it was, but I wasn't exactly sure.
Yeah, he's always talking to that head in a box.
And
this goes on this like really bizarre, dark, comical turn. I don't even know what director I'm thinking of that would make something like this, but it's just like this. It starts this insane sequence of him carrying around his head in a box, talking to it as he's walking between errands he has to run, basically.
Well, he starts in his office.
He uses the box as subterfuge to have a conversation with Utter.
Right.
And again, it's very Shakespearean.
But he's also like talking to it in between scenes while he's walking.
Oh
to places.
It's like an excuse to have him deliver internal monologue.
He talks about the plot. He's like, along comes a half-assed knight errant, Utter, Hickok's ex-partner, to put all my rivals' plans at risk. I'd seek audience with Utter and verify my thinking. It's like, and it's literally just like Hamlet with the York skull.
Yeah.
Except it's a lot more grotesque.
Right. Yeah. But that actually, the conversation he has when he sits down with Utter was the first time I've been kind of grossed out by Al in a while.
Yeah.
More than usual, because he's kind of come around to us kind of liking him.
Right.
In spite of ourselves. But like that he was putting on an act.
Right.
And not good at it, kind of like, and it like, I don't know, that it kind of like, that he was trying to pretend that Joanie confided in him as well.
Right.
Was gross.
Yeah.
And Charlie knows better than that.
But he also doesn't really know Charlie.
No. But I mean, so he was gauging.
So he doesn't know how to interact with him and get Charlie to kind of do what he wants him to do. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of using a very broad tactic here, which is just like lie and say that she told me something that she didn't tell me.
Yeah,
and it's like, and you're just like, it's funny how he like cast that line out there. It doesn't work. He's like, okay.
Well, even he even tells the chief as he's walking away. Where
because Charlie says, "Get the fuck away from me."
Every fracas in a victory, chief.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like as he's walking away.
Damn it! He overplays his hand. He had it. He had Charlie.
Yeah,
and then he just says.
See,
he said he uses the word "see," and she didn't see anything, and Charlie knows that.
Right.
And then he covers by saying, "I don't mean see in the sense of seeing."
Yeah,
like
which is insane.
Right.
It doesn't mean anything.
He said that with such conviction.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Like,
that if it was like Dan or fucking somebody else, then they would have just been like.
But that was the moment that was like. Fuck off! Like you're milking me for something. You're trying to work me here,
exactly,
and not genuinely like having a talk.
And Al needs to confide in someone because, as he said, you got to trust someone. He learned that from when Trixie did his bunions in the first season. But he can't relax enough to confide in anyone but a decapitated skull.
It's the only one who'll listen.
Yeah, and
who can understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is too fucking stupid, which we find out in the next scene with Dan, where he's trying to talk to Dan about stuff, and Dan's just like,
yeah. I think Al forgets sometimes, like when he's like on a roll or something, like mentally,
right? And
that he doesn't
else,
let people in on his internal machinations.
Yeah, because there's other stuff that these people aren't privy to.
Yeah,
that has been happening that we've seen. And so he's like,
it's not that they're stupid. It's just that
they don't know what's happening.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm so sorry, but I can't tell you that because you get mad. So I try to follow you.
Yeah.
And nod.
Yep.
And just come off looking like an idiot.
Well, his point is basically that basically you till the race is fucking finished, never mark the wager paid. He's like, you can never count on the outcome of anything until it's done. And he's saying Tolliver, was counting on this outcome of being in bed with a hearse combine, and now all his plans have become public.
Yeah.
And he ends that by complimenting Bullock, and says, Bullock, he shows growing maturity.
Maturity, yeah.
Maturity.
To what makes the world's fucking tail wag. Drink. And it's just like, he's excited that Bullock avoided putting his pet interest, innocence, so forth, guilt, fucking who did what to who before the needs of the fucking camp.
Yeah.
And so from our perspective, Bullock is becoming more corrupt. But
he is, but it's like a perspective thing as far as that goes, I guess.
He is becoming more corrupt, but also it's like, what's his alternative? He kind of has to like pick a side right now because he has him and Charlie Utter. That's it.
Right. It's the difference between
you serve at the pleasure of the community as the cops. So it's not like you can't just be like, okay, we're going to enforce the rule of law right now and do the most good. It's like
it's a pick your battles.
Yeah,
thing.
You can't do that. Yeah. That's not how it works.
We can go after this guy right now.
Society dictates what's going to be acceptable, and then the police just have to go along with it.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
they're
outnumbered.
Oh, Bullock is literally not following up on the murder of 3 different people. And, he follows up on so few murders that happen in this camp. Like, he literally is okay. We talked about Bullock as a modern cop, as somebody who is basically shooting people who haven't drawn a gun.
Right.
And he basically, despite being super righteous and 10 Commandment, he lets most of the murders go on and doesn't really worry himself about it.
I bet he doesn't do a lot of paperwork either.
No, he definitely.
But I think it's also to keep the peace.
Yeah.
Because if he did do anything to some of these people that do commit these murders,
it would stir up more trouble.
If there was just, we see him confront somebody about some random murder, right? In one episode, he comes in.
Oh, that was the
punches the guy or something or whatever. Later, I don't remember. Whatever.
I can't remember. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of the one where he tells him
watch it. Don't do it again or whatever.
Yeah, he tells Slippery.
Watch it.
Slippery Dan.
Slippery Dan. That's what it was. I'm putting different things together.
Is it Slippery Dan or is it Slippery Jim?
Slippery Dan.
Slippery Dan. Sorry.
Yeah.
Slippery Dan and Bummer Dan. Yeah.
Bummer
sorry.
Dan. Yeah.
Who killed? Anyway, but yeah, he. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Fuck it. But basically, Bullock is, for this show, he's pretty good. But in any other context, he'd be.
Well, he's good. He's as good as he can be.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say he's necessarily getting more corrupt. I'd say he's
adapting.
He's doing what he can with what he has.
Yeah.
I guess so. But again,
because otherwise he's just going to get a bullet in the head. He's not going to be help to anybody.
Yeah.
There's a serial killer in the camp. He's not investigating. That's what he's doing. I understand. I take your point.
Serial killer in the camp that's being employed by basically the richest guy in the entire country that you can't touch.
Yeah, the serial killer is also the richest person in the camp.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and it's because it's it was a business transaction, maybe it's not he's not preying on random people in the street, and it was an arranged thing.
And he's also involved undesirables.
That's true.
I was going to say, I was going to say, but
there are a lot of extenuating factors to it.
That he's not killing men.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
But that is part of what it boils down to, I think, for some of these characters. It's just
he's not killing anybody important.
Like a white man.
or.
And to go back a little bit, there's a scene between Jane and Charlie before Al tries his subterfuge with Charlie, where Jane basically says she woke up in the graveyard, not knowing whether or not it was dusk or dawn, and she has this beautifully bruised lip. And it's an unusual scene for Charlie and Jane because, again, they're not yelling at each other. They're just sharing sympathy. A lot of people in this episode are branching out and doing new things.
Right.
That was rough.
Right.
That she basically got so blackout drunk that people took advantage of her, and she doesn't know who or how or when, and that's rough. And she played it really heartbreakingly.
Yeah. And finally owning up to her
shrug.
alcoholism.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more like Charlie's had a rough fucking day, so that's why he's not. She starts in with you look like your usual piece of shit. And he says, by you, Jane, you look like dew on fucking roses. And Charlie is unusually able to get through her defenses and address her. And then she even is embarrassed. He's he basically yells at her to go upstairs and hurry up to get cleaned up. And it's nice.
Which, maybe that's the, Yeah, I don't know. That was just a tough scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get this small scene between E.B. and Al where E.B. asks Al, Al, he doesn't even say why. He doesn't even say what he's talking about. He just runs up to him, Al, why, Al? And Al actually, I thought they just maybe forgot about E.B., but he says, because being present at that meeting and made as you are, blackmail would have proved irresistible and pursuing it would have gotten you murdered. And then E.B. asks if he's still the mayor, and then Al says, for all of me in perpetuity.
Mm-hmm. And that made E.B., he liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also that basically, and it's probably true, that the reason he wasn't invited to the meeting is that he would be sorely tempted to blackmail.
Yeah.
And that pursuing that would get him murdered. Mm-hmm. And that's why he wasn't invited to the meeting, because they know E.B.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
and now's a good time to quickly ask, how do you feel about E.B.? Like, do you have, that was a sweet moment between him and Al. Like, don't you have sympathy for these murderers? Aren't they, awesome?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm generally touched by that Al actually thought of E.B.
Yeah.
And actually considered him and his well-being.
It's a sweet moment.
They're people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With their
They're bad
problems.
people, but they are people.
Yeah.
And then we get Joanie trying to fuck Jack the bartender, and
He's just trying to turn a trick.
Fuck pain away.
Fuck
Peaches.
pain away.
yeah, and then we get what we talked about earlier. Side basically tries to build up her confidence, which terribly, and then we have our final scene between Charlie Utter and Francis Wolcott. And as you said earlier, you can't see his hand.
Yeah.
And you think maybe that Charlie's about to get shot. And
Yeah. Again, it seems like something bad's going to happen to Charlie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then I woke up.
Yeah. But you were saying earlier that basically he basically implicates Joanie.
He used giving the letter to him as a way to fish for information about the person who,
That's all
he doesn't
that's all
want
he
that
wanted.
information out, and he wants to know who's been.
That's what he just wants to know who he can go kill.
Was it Joanie?
Yeah.
Yeah, and bless his heart, Charlie's like,
He acts like he wants more information.
I'm not going to tell you because I promised I wouldn't, and it's like, well, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, because up to that point he didn't really answer any of his questions directly, so he wasn't sure if Joanie.
But he
was the
promised
one.
somebody that he wouldn't, so somebody
and then
told
he
him.
mentions Joanie specifically, right?
Yeah, and you don't say that name again.
Yeah, you don't say that name again, and then I promised that I wouldn't say anything. It's like, okay, well, there you go. That's all I need to know.
That's all I need. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's already run afoul of Joanie before, so
Yep.
so he knows that there's an issue between them.
Yep.
So yeah,
It's all over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Whatever it takes.
get
Whatever
busy
it
living
takes.
or get busy dying.
We're in the end game now.
We're the end game now, Doc.
Damn it! I was about to. Damn it!
Though these jokes will not make any sense to you,
No, yeah.
dear viewers.
Is this coming out before Endgame? I don't understand. Why wouldn't they?
No, I
Well, I mean,
mean, by the time this episode drops,
one's gonna remember
everyone will have
Endgame.
seen it.
No one's gonna remember Endgame.
Yeah,
They'll be like,
no one
what's
will remember.
Marvel? We're now on vampire novels.
Vampire novels?
I mean, those will be the big rage in 2020.
The 2020 vampire craze.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do we need to say anything that sums up the episode? Because they may not get our Marvel references, even though I'm the one who initiated
We already
it.
said anyways, right?
Yeah, we did.
Oh. Anyways.
Old friends.